What's up, guys? I am Kyle. I am the design director here for the drafting room where we do all the garage designs and stuff. Matt is out today. If you don't know, if you haven't been paying attention to the videos, he's in SEMA. So he and Tommy are out there checking out all the new products, getting with the vendor partners that we have and stuff like that. So they're having a good time. And we needed to come up with an idea of what to do for a live stream today. And so I've got Mike with me here, Chris is behind the camera, and we're gonna do some rinseless, not so rinseless washing. I've got a little bit of a weird process that I do for my rinseless washes, and we're gonna get into that today and you're gonna see how that works. But wanted to talk about the products I'm gonna be using. We're gonna then, as a first step of our rinseless wash, foam and rinse the car, and then actually get into the actual rinseless portion of it. So today, Daniel's car is his GLI Tornado Red, which is really cool. It's pretty clean. He just washed it over the weekend, but it does have some brake dust and stuff like that. So to save time, I'm going to just spray down the wheels, not touch them or anything like that. We'll probably blow dry them later, but I'm gonna spray them off with some iron remover, which I actually do use in my normal process. So I do like a pre-spray while the car is dry. I'll spray that on the wheels. Then I'm gonna foam the paint with a mix of Reset and Green Star, give it a little bit of extra kick. Once we've rinsed the car after it's dwelled, I'll probably put some rust inhibitor on the brake rotors just to keep those nice. We'll pull the car in and then kind of get into the actual rinseless portion of the time. So Mike, you want me to go ahead and get started? Cool. All right, so like I said, this is a little weird because, and different from what Matt does and a lot of the guys, I foam first while the car is dry. And actually, before I do that, we're gonna foam first and then we'll do the wheels after that. So this is just Reset and a little bit of Green Star. I think about 50 milliliters of Reset and 25 or so of Green Star. So we'll see how this works out. It provides a little extra kick to, when the car is dry and you foam while the car is dry, it's going to pull off more of the dirt. People talk about the road grime, but there are oils and crap in the road, and I think it does a little better job. So that, on my own cars, when I do this, after I do the rinse cycle, foam and then rinse, it's like the car is clean. So I want to get the car as clean as possible before I ever make contact with it. I feel like that's the safest way to do it. Kind of learned that from Larry of Ammo NYC, talking about the contaminants and how dirt on the surface is just really ground up little rocks and stuff like that. So I really want to get all of that as far off the paint as I possibly can with whatever steps that I can before actually touching the surface. So that's kind of the whole point of this whole thing, is I'm trying to be as safe as possible with my contact. So I go through a few extra steps at the beginning to, make it that way. So I'm gonna foam around the car, let it sit for a second, and then spray off the wheels as well. Daniel has a ton of drying aid on his car, so you see it's like beading and barely sticking. Pardon me while I come to the backside here. I know this part's not super exciting for you guys. We'll get to the questions and stuff like that here once I bring the car in, I think, is the plan. And I've been doing some testing, versus foaming while the car is wet, after you've rinsed. And to me, in my testing, I can definitely tell the difference between when the car is dry and I foam it, and you get that better, what feels like better contact and dwell time. except for Daniel's car, which has like 8 layers of drying aid on it and everything's just sliding off. Get some on the front here. Yeah, a bunch of bugs on the front. We get that all the time here in Central Florida. Set that to the side for now. I'm gonna go ahead and spray down the wheels. So this is just our iron remover. It's the P&S Iron Buster. I think it works really good as a pre-spray. So I'm pre-spraying the paint with Reset and Green Star as a stronger kind of pre-foam. And then I take the same approach when I'm doing my wheels, even if I'm not going to, agitate them right now, just for the sake of time. This makes a huge difference, I think, with how clean the wheels will be after this little pre-rinse. I think his tire dressing on the tires is probably pretty good. Don't worry about the tires right now. Get the brakes and stuff. If I'm weirding you guys out with my different processes than the normal OG way, feel free to ask some questions and we'll get to them once we get into the rinse part of things. All right, that's probably good. I'm doing this after the foam because I don't want to let that sit too long. We got a little bit of sun coming in. So a lot of guys think all the time that the rinse portion of getting the car rinsed off is just to get it wet. And really the whole point is to blast off all the dirt and rocks and crap that's on the car. You can see the weird streakiness of this foam. That's because I added the Green Star. It'll get that kind of strange streakiness because it's doing a little bit more work than just regular Reset by itself. So that'll hopefully help with the bugs and stuff on the front. All right, I think I'm gonna start with the wheels, rinse the wheels off, and then we'll get the paint, because I'm gonna get this iron remover off of here. This part might be a little boring, so just kind of bear with me. Daniel, you need to get in here with some brushes on those brake calipers, man. So, I'm not washing my car today. You guys have seen my green Golf R. I recently listed it on Cars and Bids. It didn't get all the way to reserve somehow. The used car market seems to be dying off really fast right now, but it didn't sell. So I have parked it in the garage because it sold through other means. So I actually had a dealership reach out to me, and they offered to buy the car basically at what my reserve was. So it worked out pretty well, I think. Looking at other cars that have been selling that are, kind of similar, maybe not Spectrums, but other Golf Rs, prices have been dropping like crazy. So I'm happy with what happened and what I got for it. I did end up getting 41. So I'm pleased. I think, in the end, it was the right decision to go ahead and let it go for that. And, I'll be able to I'm searching for R32 now, Mark V, 2008 Volkswagen R32. And that should be actually getting that within the next week or so. I've got some friends that are looking at 2 different ones that are kind of all over the place. But I've got, there's one in Nevada I'm looking at, and there's another one in Pennsylvania. All right, those wheels are looking a lot better. Let me hit this backside real quick, and then I'll come back around to the front for you guys. So back to the point of rinsing, I'm being super thorough when I rinse cars because I want to get all the lodged dirt and debris and everything just kind of dislodged and taken off. You can definitely tell that Daniel cleaned his car last weekend or whenever it was because it's like beating like crazy. So that's the kind of the cool thing about doing the pre-rinse or the pre-foam first is now like this car's basically clean when I go into my rinseless wash procedure. So I really like this method a lot. Even if I'm gonna be doing a regular 2-bucket method, I pre-foam and rinse first, every time. As opposed to just rinsing and then foaming. I feel like when the car is wet already, it just doesn't have the same effectiveness. And then this type of soap you use also, has a lot to do with that as well. All right, this is looking pretty good back here. Let me come over here to the side. If you guys have any like weird ways that you wash or little quirks of how you do it that's different from the normal, OG way, feel free to say something about it. Or if you have a question on whether something maybe that you're doing, whether it's right or not, we can comment on that and I can say what I think about it, not that what I say has any bearing on whether it's right or not. I mean, there's like 1,000 different ways to do this. You guys make fun of us all the time for cleaning clean cars, even though they're not usually. Daniel's is actually pretty clean. Got some bugs on the front, like I said. It sure feels like a 25-degree nozzle. I usually use a 40, but it's all right. Pay close attention to this top line there, where the windshield hits. You get a lot of bugs and crap. Daniel over here with his hot boy status and rolled fenders. I almost looked at a curry yellow Spectrum Golf R at one point that was actually here local. It was up in Ocala, and I ended up, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because it had rolled fenders, and I don't know. It's not me, I guess. I think Daniel's car looks pretty good, though. I'm not really a GLI guy, but hey, it's Volkswagen. Said tornado or tornado, I don't know how to, I've heard it different ways pronounced, this paint color, but tornado red, definitely one of my favorites. Been looking at some Mark V R32s, and there were some tornado red and tornado red versions available, which are actually pretty rare, but I don't know, there's so many paint problems with this particular paint back then that it scares me. So like dealing with rust was a big thing that I was seeing a lot. A lot of people having problems with like peeling paint, stuff like that. I think these newer cars are fine. My wife had a 2012 Golf, and it was tornado red. That was like my favorite paint on a car to clean. So hopefully we can get most of these bugs blasted off of here before we get into the rinseless process. I hate dealing with bugs. Sometimes I'll spray some like 10 to 1 green star. I don't have any bug remover in my arsenal right now, so I'll spray some like 10 to 1 green star in the front or the mirror cap just to get a little extra something on there to start the bugs kind of deteriorating a little bit. Usually helps, especially if you're coated. Stuff will just fly off afterwards. All right, I think we're good. We're good. So I'm gonna pull it in now. And then we can actually start the wash process. So we'll leave that out there. Did Daniel leave the keys in the car? I don't know, we'll find out. I'm gonna go and pull it in if you're ready. Ah, here he is. Thank you, sir. Not that this counts, but I don't think I've ever driven a GLI before. Oh, man. So shout out AWE. Daniel's got a AWE exhaust on his. I think it's the track version. It's a little aggressive, but it's good. I'm gonna kind of see if I can. I'm trying to get away from Mike over here. He's got his camera, or the camera set up and the computer set up. We good? Sure. All right. We good? Enough? Good enough, garage? Close that door. Yeah.
All right, so microphone. Let's do some questions while
Yeah.
you're setting up.
So before, let me just talk about like what I'm gonna put in here, and then we can start some questions. McKee's rinseless wash. So I'm really using this as a wash soap replacement is basically how I'm using this rather than like a true rinseless. So I've got 4.5, 5 gallons in here. So I'm gonna do like 2.5 ounces. It'll be fine. All right. What kind of questions you got over there, Mike?
All right, let's go from the top. Caves has been waiting for Kyle to do this. Being in California, I'm trying to become a rinseless expert. Sucks because of my plane and we will miss it. Hopefully you guys do another one soon. Don't worry, Cave. This will be live and you'll be able to rewatch it later.
Perfect.
So, does this process involve pre-rinse, multiple towels in a solution bucket, folding a towel into 4s and only using one side per towel for each panel?
No.
A single towel doing 8 panels essentially?
So I do obviously a pre-rinse in a foam beforehand. However, I don't use like crazy wash methods of like 27 towels in a bucket and dump them into, you know, another you know, container when I'm done or whatever. That way I'm only, you know, touching the paint with like fresh, clean stuff every time. Let's see, I gotta put this somewhere. Let's see if we can. Okay. I just use a regular microfiber wash mitt or pad. This is like a little custom one from Microfiber Madness that we're trying out. And I don't do anything crazy. I just like kind of wring it out just a little bit, and then I just go to town. I've done all the work in the foam and rinse portion of the wash to where now I don't really have to worry too much about, really protecting the paint and all that stuff. I mean, obviously I'm still paying attention to that, but I don't know. You don't have to overthink it, I don't think. You're gonna scratch more in the rinse process, I think, than in the wash process if you rinse properly and all of that.
All right, Ken Jeeper says you need to try Absolute.
Absolute, I have tried it a couple times. So what I found from talking to Anthony at the Rag Company, because we had some weird experience with it first, is that it needs to be shaken like crazy to mix it up properly, which I thought was kind of strange. But, I mean, it works fine. I think I still like McKee's better, but it's a good soap. It's definitely more like O&R. I'm gonna switch over to the other side now. Sorry, I'm gonna be a little bit all over the place so we don't take 2 hours to do this, but I don't know, I still like McKee's better. Overall, it feels better. I feel like it cleans better. Whether it's bad or not, I can definitely tell that Absolute seems to leave a little bit something behind, the polymers that are in the product, but I don't know if that really matters. And that's kind of their argument, is like, well, who cares? Like, you're gonna be putting a drying aid or something else on top of the paint afterwards anyway. If it's helping with the wash process and helping make everything nice and slick and protecting the paint, then it's doing its job. And I mean, I think that's a fair argument. I don't know, I just like the McKee's stuff. I like the smell. I think it's, for me, a little better. And obviously it's what we choose here at OG.
Dino says, Reset and Green Star is a no-go. You will just get around pH-neutral foam. Reset is about a pH of 5, and Green Star is 12, but together in water they will neutralize each other. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not done the science behind it. Looked at the science behind why you would not do that or why you would. I just know that when I use those in conjunction with each other, whether it's pH neutral or not, it still has better cleaning power than just Reset. And I prefer Reset over GSF. So that's why I use that.
TPD Details says that according to CarPro's website, Reset is a pH of 7 anyway. So it is not, it's not
It's
neutral.
not 12. Yeah. So Reset is 7, and then Green Star is what?
12.
Oh, Green Star is 12. Got it. Let's see. I need to do this side a little bit. So I'm trying to talk and wash at the same time.
Balu says, aren't you just diluting the rinseless wash when you pre-rinse?
Yeah, but that's why I don't. So like when you watch instructions for Rinseless, they're really wringing out the. Yeah, you want to go grab that?
Why is that going on?
I don't know. So when you read the instructions for sorry, the technical. We're having technical problems over there apparently. What was the question again?
About diluting.
Diluting on the surface. Yeah. So that used to be a big thing that I would think about a lot. Oh, okay. Is if there's water on the surface and I'm diluting the rinseless wash to 256 to 1, and then going over the surface with that because of the water that's already on here, am I diluting too much? And I think the answer is no, depending on how you do it. Now, if you're doing rinseless wash like a normal way with like the big red sponge or the ultra black sponge or something like that, I'm actually gonna dry the surfaces now. So if you're doing one of those methods and you're really wringing it out properly like they recommend, at that point, yeah, it's probably gonna be a little too diluted, but the way I do it, it's still very wet, the sponge is, so, or the mitt. So what I'm doing now, this is kind of a very rinseless wash thing to do. I am drying kind of as I go. So I've done the entire top of the car, and I'm just using a gauntlet towel, our drying aid towel 3.0 or whatever we call it. And now I'm just gonna dry the top surfaces that I've already cleaned, and then later I'll go back around and actually use drying aid. But I prefer this method over blowing the car dry after doing like a normal 2-bucket method or whatever.
Frostink says, at this point, you might as well just do a traditional wash. So
Yeah,
why
100%.
why would you pick this over a traditional wash?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I get made fun of a lot for that. For me, I like not having to blow dry the car. So I prefer doing this kind of dry as I go method. And then following up with drying aid after when the car's already dry. I don't know, I started doing it and I really like it. Not having to pull out the blower, not having to rinse the car again. So I do, eliminate that second or last rinse step, which I like.
Because you do it pre-soak.
Yeah, because I've done the pre-soak, and because I'm using a rinseless wash, I'm not having to now rinse the car after washing it. So I've already washed these panels, and now I can just go straight to drying. So the rinseless wash that's on the car is acting as a drying lubricant. And I do believe in the technology of rinseless washing and the chemicals, that they are safer than a normal surfactant paint or a surfactant soap. So I do think that it is safer to do this method. Whether that's really true or not,
So
I don't know if it really matters.
On that topic, Sean G said, this is a great pre-wash for very dirty daily drivers or for those who just want to foam.
Yeah.
I've started doing pre-soak with P&S Absolute 256-1 and then rinse with a pressure washer, and that's exactly what this is for. So this is a pre-wash.
Yeah.
Or the beginning of this was the pre-wash, and it's a different process from what works for you before doing an actual process.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same way to look at it, really. I think doing any kind of pre-soak is a good idea versus not. Whether you're going to go into a 2-bucket wash or a rinseless or whatever it is that you're going to do after your pre-soak. I think I've already washed these windows, but we'll just hit them again.
What pressure washer were you using?
That is the AR 767? 676?
767, I think.
So we're thinking about bringing that on. We're still kind of testing it and seeing what kind of accessories and hoses work with it. So it's basically the Rinseless K1122 competitor, if you will. It's got an AR 630 pump in it. And it works the same. You got to lay it down just like the 1122. So it's pretty good. I mean, we've got a custom hose on it right now for the hose reel, just to kind of test that out.
Matt Duffy says, what's Kyle's opinion of the Built Hamber foam soap? I know Bryce seems to like it.
I think it's really good. I've only tried it once or twice. but it was good. It's probably, I mean, ideally you would use that instead of, Green Star and Reset, I think. I think that would probably work better. It's probably safer.
Jeff C says, have you tried the Ultra Black Sponge? They release the dirt a lot better than microfiber pads.
Yeah, I have, but like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to do anything. Like I get no cleaning power with it. So I don't know, what I'm doing wrong. Like I really liked the Big Red Sponge. I felt like that worked really well. And then once I switched over to the Ultra Black, it just, I don't know, it didn't have the same effect. And I'll be honest, like I haven't tried, at least in a long time, the Big Red Sponge with like McKee's. So maybe that would still work just as well. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't have a good experience with it. And I think it was the same for Tommy. I had converted Tommy over to this method of washing as well. And he uses the microfiber mitt. So yeah, technically it's not going to release the dirt as much, but I mean, I think it works fine. I haven't done any testing to see how much dirt is retained or whatever, but I think it's all right.
All right, well, I got a garage design question for you from Guy B32.
All
So,
right.
has the team thought about 3D scanning for garage design customers and provide a solution to retrofit an existing space?
So we have looked at, I don't know about we have thought about 3D scanning. So I think, in the future, that's probably something that we'll offer someday, whether we do it ourselves or maybe we contract with a company that'll like come to your house and do that. I think it's a really cool idea. We'll have to see how we can logistically make that work and everything. But yeah, to be able to do that, I mean, it would prevent us from having any kind of discrepancies or anything when, you're sending dimensions and that sort of thing over. So, all right, now I got to get the other side of the car.
Ken Jeeper says, my favorite rinseless wash sponge is the McKee's Gold Sponge.
I haven't tried it, actually. Probably should do that. Yeah, let's make a order list for Nick right now.
All right, another garage design question. Has the team thought about attending an Autodesk University to see trends in technology and using those trends to stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, so we're kind of in this process right now of really planning out our future and what is the drafting room or whatever we're gonna, ultimately end up calling, this kind of business within the business, to really see where we're going and where we're headed. Right now we use Chief Architect, and we decided not to do Revit with where we're at right now. It was too much of a bog down for us from a workflow standpoint, but eventually we're gonna have to. So I think eventually we're gonna be full, I think I already washed these windows too. You guys are throwing me off my game here. I'm not cut out for these wash and talks. But yeah, I think eventually we're gonna have to go full Revit, full Autodesk suite. So at that point, yeah, we'll definitely invest in, proper training and everything we need to do to make sure that we're on top of our games with that and how to properly use everything for what we're wanting to do. So.
Mikey says, what about rinsing with DI water?
I mean, it's good. I mean, it's useful, but kind of not. It's kind of weird because when you rinse with DI water, you don't have to race as much to make sure that you don't get any water spots and stuff like that as you're going through your drying process. Because the car is staying wet while I'm doing this. I don't think it's really necessary to use DI water. Plus the McKee's neutralizes the water. But if you were doing a 2-bucket method, I mean, yeah, 100%, you know, do your final rinse with DI water for sure. That'll really help you, I think, in the long run. Help, you know, any kind of like calcium and mineral buildup in like the little crooks and crevices, which maybe are harder to dry. I think that'll probably really improve that part of, you know, the detail aspect of your car. And I think we'll be working on a new solution. I'm sure Matt's talked about this a bunch of times, but we'll be having a new DI solution here, hopefully within the next little while. And it'll look prettier than that. But that's the prototype stuff.
Ken Jeeper says, this is kind of how I do it during the winter months at the coin op. Green Star 10-1 in an IK9 foam and rinse, depending on the temp.
Yeah.
Follow with an RW or a WW.
Oh, what was the last part?
I think that's a rinseless wash or a waterless wash.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I mean, especially for winter. So, I mean, this is a great maybe how to, you know, as we're coming up into winter for you guys that are up north. I mean, if I had a bunch of salt and crap all over my car, like I would 100% be, you know, spraying it down, foaming it, and doing the whole process prior to then washing it normal. So like this process that we just did, this is kind of why I like to do this as well, because I can foam and rinse outside in the drive, and then pull my car in to my drive or my garage where I've got Swiss tracks, and then go through the rinseless process and not have to worry about, you know, spraying stuff down inside my garage. My garage is pretty small, so it's a little tight. I've got, you know, cabinets, and I've got kids' stuff, and, you know, all sorts of stuff in there that I don't really want to be getting foam on or water or anything like that. So this is a great option for that, to allow me to be able to wash in my garage. Same thing for during the winter. This would really be a good process, I think, for that. Get all that salt and crap off of there first before you ever start touching the car.
Larry says, I've moved away from a 2-bucket method and gone to foam rinse, wash, rinse with 1 bucket and microfiber towels. The dirt level / climate dictates when rinseless comes into play.
Yep, exactly. And, you know, obviously I'm not doing just, you know, I am doing 1 bucket, but I'm not doing a bunch of, you know, microfiber towels. But I think with how clean the car gets after doing the foam and rinse, it's not something I'm worried about. I did notice that, you know, when I started doing the foam and rinse first, that my wash bucket after washing was way cleaner. Doesn't matter how dirty my car is, like my wash bucket afterwards is significantly cleaner after, you know, doing it like this. So, and then as I go, I can see how nice and clean the car is, because this looks great. Want to do the back bumper since you're back there? And then I'll still follow up with, you know, drying aid and stuff. So, I mean, you could have an argument of, well, because you're not rinsing and then blow drying, you're wiping the car down more than you would normally, because I'm drying it now and then I'm going to wipe it down with drying aid again and wipe it again. So, I mean, that's an argument that you could have, and I would understand. I think in my experience, I haven't noticed any kind of, you know, adverse effects from doing this, but it'd be an interesting, you know, testing to do, maybe like long term, to see, okay, what kind of actual issues. Yeah, Daniel's car's not as clean as I thought. I'm getting some stuff on my wash mitt here.
So we skipped the wheels and tires.
Yeah, basically.
We didn't want this to go forever, but
Right.
we want to talk about what you would do before your foam and rinse when you're doing wheels and tires? Like, do you have a separate, different method for that? Or?
Yeah, so I do the same exact stuff that Matt does. You know, if you've ever watched Matt wash his car, do his wheels, it's the exact same method, except I add some pre-rinse or pre-foam, whatever you want to call it, steps into that. So Mike kind of talked about this too, but I have started pre-soaking the wheels down with Iron X, or not Iron X, but the Iron Buster, and then also pre-soaking the tires with Brake Buster. And I'm finding that my tires and wheels afterwards are so much cleaner when I go to actually start the wash process of the wheels. So I'm pre-spraying both tires on the one side with iron remover, and pre-spraying both tires on one side with Brake Buster. And then I go back to the first tire and I rinse it all off with the pressure washer, and then go to the second one, rinse it all off. Then I go back to the first tire or first wheel and then go through like the normal matte process. And it's been phenomenal. Really like the way that that's working. Like I said before, just like with the paint, I want the surface as clean as possible and contaminant free before I ever actually touch it. And I mean, it's definitely made a very noticeable difference at how, you know, dirty or clean my wheels are versus just not spraying anything on them and just going into using the pressure washer.
So before we got Reset in the store, what were you using?
Honestly, I would use like a hodgepodge of random stuff. You know, as you might expect, working here, I've accumulated random different soaps and stuff, and I think at one point I had like a half a bottle of the Dr. Beasley's matte shampoo for matte paint, and I don't know, you know, really what the chemical makeup is of that stuff, but my thought process was, well, maybe it's got some like descaling stuff in it because it's, you know, for matte paint, and so I was using that. But I would, if I didn't have a soap that was very strong, I would mix in some APC or maybe some Decon soap. Decon soap is pretty good. But the Reset and Green Star method has been awesome. That's been my favorite so far, other than using like Built Hamber touchless.
Will you use a blower or compressed air to get the last 5% of the water out?
Yeah, maybe on like the front bumper and the wheels and stuff like that, I will. But I don't really focus too hard on it. Because I'm using Rinseless as my wash medium, it's very, like it's already softened the water. So if there is any that, you know, doesn't dry or, dries afterwards, it's not gonna hurt anything. And then I can just wipe it off. And then going through the drying aid process will get a lot of the, you know, any remaining stuff. But yeah, I'll sometimes take a blower, like I'll probably do that today. Or maybe just after we're done with the stream. Especially like on the grill and stuff here. You know, it's really hard to dry that off properly with a towel.
And what towel are you using for your rinseless method?
That is the Drying Aid 3.0 towel, which is the Rag Company's Gauntlet. I'll sometimes use a larger drying towel, like our drying towel 3.0, which is like the big Gauntlet. That one's pretty good too. It's just kind of whatever I'm feeling for the day.
Jeff C has a good question. Why not just spray drying aid before using your drying towel? I've been doing that with O&R bead maker for years. Saves time and less rubbing on the paint.
Yeah, that's if I'm in like a super rush, I will do that. I still enjoy wiping the car down while it's dry with drying aid, or drier at least, and kind of just going through the process. So I still do that. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely spray it down, while the Rinseless is on the car. I think that's a pretty good solution that I've done a decent amount of, especially back when I was using like O&R and bead maker and stuff like that. Don't do it as much with drying aid, but it works good. It's got one little more section right here. What else you got?
Waiting on chat to catch up.
What's that?
Waiting on chat to catch up. Mikey says, do you know the TDS in your area?
I think here it's pretty bad. Over at my house, it doesn't seem bad at all because I don't really get hard water spots from my water.
I think it's like over 250 here.
Oh gosh, 250, something like that is what we've read before here.
Yeah,
So-
down by me, it's also like about that. So water softener is pretty important.
Yeah. So, and that's where like the McKee's stuff helps, or any rinseless solution, I think does that for the most part. At least any of the main players, it'll soften the water that's in your bucket. So that's one of the reasons why I like using this as opposed to like a regular soap as well. I've used this one regular drying aid towel for this whole car, and it's fine. It's still drying perfectly good. I don't need to use like multiple because it just soaks up so much water. I would imagine that we probably have some detailing kits that have M2 entries for the giveaway. So definitely go grab some entries for that. I think, how much time do we have left, Bryce, for the M2?
Next Thursday, right?
Wow, next Thursday, so less than a week. And hopefully one of you guys that are the kind of the diehards that watch all these live streams and stuff, hopefully one of you guys will buy it, or not buy it, but win it. And then if you do, everybody will think it's rigged.
Winner's always from Florida.
We had the one guy that was in New York.
Yep, that was the M5.
Yep. All right. Will it screw up the video too much if I go ahead and spray blow dry the wheels real quick?
No, not at all.
All right, I'm gonna go do that real quick. So, since we rinsed the wheels with the spray and stuff, I'm just gonna blow them off real quick. Boom. And now if I was in a real rush, because I already had drying aid on it, I could just leave it. It's done.
Ken Jeeper wants to know, do you ever use detailing brushes around emblems, trim, etc.? I've never seen Matt use one once.
I should have done that today. So pretty much every time I wash, I do that. I mean, how else are you gonna get like into these little cracks and crevices and stuff like that, you know, like up under here? So yeah, the Detail Factory brushes are fantastic for that. I use them pretty much all the time.
So we have 2 in the store, so which one do you use?
I use the regular, like the black brush, like the black brushes, but the larger version, like the longer one. I don't know what it's called. It's just like their normal Detail Factory brush. You could use the short one too, but definitely not the little tiny guys. Those are too small.
All right, Kyle, I got a tech support question for you since before garage design, that's what you used to do. So good opportunity to, you know, test your skill. Griffin here says, I'm having issues with my Comet. And I think you also have a Comet, right, Kyle?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So we stored it for about a year, and it's slow to get going each time I use it now. After about 1 minute of use, the pressure is... Wait, what? After about 1 minute of use, the pressure is there, and there's a reasonable amount of time. Any tips?
It's
I guess
probably...
it's taken him a while to get going for the
So
pressure.
and it's not always done this, it sounds like?
I guess right after storage, it sounds like.
So, yeah, it's probably kind of getting gunked up with some like calcium deposits and minerals and stuff like that on the on like the valves inside and stuff like that, or like the pressure switch. So probably what you need to do, we have a support article that shows you how to take the 3 valves out, and I've done this on my machine. That's probably actually my photos in there, maybe, if we've not updated it. But that will kind of help you clear all that stuff out. Check the little spring that's in there. Make sure everything looks okay or nothing's, you know, busted up. Make sure there's no like buildup of minerals and stuff. If you need a new spring or a new kit to put all that back together and you just want to replace it, I believe we either sell it in the store or we can get it for you. We have, you know, like little repair kits and stuff that work pretty well for that. But it's a pretty easy process. You just need like a wrench and a screwdriver, and you can get in there and open that up. It works pretty well, and that should get you back running again.
What I'll also mention is before you put something away like that, if you've used it, make sure you get all the water out, because we've had customers that have put Rinseless and things away and had it sit for a couple months, and they run into issues with that.
Yeah, because you've got, you know, brass pump and stuff like that that is going to not corrode, but, you know, it's going to get that kind of, I guess it is corrosion, you know, on it and turn green, or just kind of get that layer of crap on top of it. So you want to kind of minimize that as much as you can.
Mikey's just calling you out about your process here. So what about the door jams, fuel cap, and those areas?
So I get those after the fact. I kind of do Matt's old method of using the door jam towel. And if I was using my brush like I normally do, I would do the fuel area. Daniel keeps it pretty clean though, so I just foamed and rinsed it, and it should be okay. You know, that could be like consider this version maybe like an in-between, because we didn't do the wheels, so we're not doing like every single little detail exactly how we would. Otherwise we'd be here till 9 o'clock, because I'm the slowest person on earth.
And then Nick chimed in, it's the Detail Factory synthetic detail brush.
Yeah, you don't want to do the boar's hair one on paint. That's no good.
Jeff
So
C
I will
says,
wipe this down when I do the door jams later.
Talk to Anthony from TRC about water softening capabilities of N914 versus ONR/Absolute. They did some extensive testing on it.
Oh yeah? Who said that?
That was Jeff C.
Gotcha.
And then N914 doesn't seem to do as well with very hard water. I used N914 last year and had some mirror drips etched my doors on a hot day.
Oh wow.
Never had that problem with ONR.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had that problem here, so maybe that's something to consider. Like if you're in a place where you have really bad water, like maybe like, I don't know, I've always heard that like Arizona has hard water.
Oh yeah, Arizona's really bad.
You know, maybe that's something to consider. Maybe N914 is not really the one for you, and that's, you know, that's fine. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter all that much which one you use. You know, people get in uproars all the time about using this soap or this drying aid or whatever, and it's like, technique is everything, I feel like. I can make pretty much whatever work. That's why I've been trying so many different soaps when I'm pre-foaming and stuff like that, is, you know, I can kind of use whatever I need to and make it work just fine.
So they're going back and forth about TDS. So basically, if you have high TDS in your water and you want to do rinseless or waterless, you should probably consider getting like distilled water, and that will avoid that.
Yeah. So like if I'm on the road or something, I'll do that, where like I'll stop at a Publix or a grocery store or whatever and actually just buy, you know, like 4 gallons of distilled water. That way I don't have to worry about finding a hose. Like, and that's when I'm doing like a true rinseless. But yeah, I mean, that using distilled water is definitely better, I would say.
So what do you take with you when you go on a trip and to do rinseless?
I'm not really taking anything for tires or wheels. So I take N914. I take a bunch of these towels, the gauntlet towels. I take, let's see, my bucket. I maybe take 2 buckets just for like better storage capability. And then take some interior towels, either I'll bring an interior spray, or, I mean, I pretty much use N914 for everything. So I'll just bring a waterless wash dilution bottle pre-made with N914 ready to go, and kind of use that for, I'll use that for my pre-spray. I will, actually I guess I will use the Rinseless sprayer. Rinseless sprayers work fantastic for doing pre-sprays and stuff like that. So I'll fill that up with my rinseless solution after I've made it up out of my bucket. Don't bring any glass cleaner because I'm going to use McKee's. So McKee's is like the answer or any rinseless solution is the answer for, you know, when you're on the go or when you're like at an event or something like that. So like earlier this year at Wookiees in the Woods, I took just a bunch of McKee's, a bunch of towels, wash mitts. I think I brought a couple wash mitts just in case. And then just, you know, pre-sprayed with my Rinseless bottle, went to town. And I did do Bryce did it for me because he went with me, but we did a rinseless solution on the wheels, which I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of weird. I feel like you need something a little heavier duty to really safely clean your wheels than just spraying rinseless stuff on it.
So Mikey says, I heard Built Hamber soap is really good, but man, is it expensive. What's all the hype about? Actually, Bryce, do you want to touch on that real quick? Since you're the one.
I got no mic.
You just come over here real quick.
Okay, so what's the deal with Built Hamber Rinseless? Oh, the soap. All right. Well, is he talking about touchless, or is he talking about the little squeezy, little tiny bottle of like? So if you're talking about touchless, one, it's a sugar-based foam, it's like a true snow foam. So it's meant to be used the way Kyle actually did with. I'm sorry. Kyle used with this washing this car is like you're supposed to not wash the car first at all. You want to foam it so you're getting as much of the dirt off as you can, and then you let it set for a couple minutes after you mix the PIR value correct. It's really big with touchless. There's a panel impact ratio that you have to follow, and if you use a foam cannon, you have to measure it accurately with that. But it's just a new formulation. It's a sugar-based formulation that works really good. There's what's his name, Forensic Detailing, has a video on it. I do recommend you go watch it because he has a really in-depth between like their old touchless stuff, which was like auto foam, and then the new touchless sugar-based. And it's what everyone should be doing if they have a really dirty car, is always foam with that first. Because you don't want to be, like right now we foam and then we go around with a mitt. And you're just rubbing dirt in. Like, why would you do that when you can rinse off of most of the dirt after, like, you even start touching the car? But right now it is really expensive because of the PIR value, especially on pressure washers, how you have to mix it. You have to mix a lot. It's almost 1-to-1, I want to say, on the like a 1122, a 1-to-1 mixture ratio, and it's what, $50. It's over $50 a gallon here in the U.S., and that's because it has to be imported. And trying to work on a solution for that right now. I'm not going to say much about it, but we've been talking with Pete at Bilthamber, and if you were in like the UK, it's actually pretty cheap to buy the Bilthamber stuff because I think it's like $23 equivalent to what we would pay, was what they pay, where we're paying almost double that here in the US to use Bilthamber touchless. So, but yeah, it's one of the best snow foams that I've used, and it gets, I mean, my bucket after a wash is just like incredibly clean compared to before, where it was just like just dirt on the whole bottom, because it just removes a lot of that crap that's just sitting on your paint. So that's just what I know about Bilthamber touchless. I've been using it for a couple months, and I really recommend it. Sorry, I've been keeping getting farther away from the microphone, but yeah, that's all I have to say on it.
And like the thought process, you know, like Bryce and I and Tommy are doing with foaming first and rinsing, it's obviously different from the way Matt does it. And not to say that, you know, the way Matt does it is wrong and we think that this is the right way and whatever. Like I said, like there's 1,000 different ways you can wash your car, and this is the way that, you know, we've found works best for us. And, you know, who knows, maybe we'll convince Matt of that someday, but you know, you got to find the way that you enjoy and what works for you and your process. And if foaming first is your thing, it's a very European way to do it. You know, a lot of their snow foams are made for that. So,
Richard Ralph wants to know, what are you spraying on the car right now after the wash? I didn't hear you say anything.
I didn't. So this is drying aid. So I'm just going through the normal drying aid process. I do it a little differently than Matt. I get my towel pretty wet and loaded up. So
Maybe tell them what drying aid is, Kyle, because that's our product. So.
yeah, so this is our product called Drying Aid, which is an SiO2 based. I guess it's kind of like a paint sealant, but it works really well in a drying aspect. You know, so like we mentioned earlier, if I left all the rinseless solution on the car and wanted to spray it on while it was wet, you know, it works pretty well. It does work best on a dry car, but it's a part of the drying process, if you will. So that's why it's called Drying Aid. It's not necessarily because you're supposed to spray it on a wet car. But we did a lot of testing to come up with this product because we just couldn't find what we wanted on the market elsewhere. And it's been really good. I really like this stuff. You could see, you know, how much the car was beating earlier, even after I had, you know, foamed and rinsed it and everything. That's because Daniel uses this primarily. I don't think he has a coating or wax or anything like that on the car. He's just using Drying Aid, and it's a great standalone product even. We didn't talk about that today because this wasn't a wheel cleaning episode, but one of the other cool things that we've found, I'm down towards the end of my bottle. I don't know, there's something else in here.
Did the bottom of the hose fall off?
I think it's a second bottom of a hose. You never know what you're gonna get here. Oh man, come on, I've got 2 windows. All right, that's enough. We need to refill this thing, but I'm done now. It's fine.
All right, what were you saying about the wheels?
So with the wheels, one of the things I found, I really like to use a spray and rinse product on my wheels because I don't have any coated wheels right now. So like say you get a new set of wheels and you haven't coated them yet, but you're, you know, going through your wash process and stuff like that. You can use Drying Aid as a spray and rinse off type sealant product. And it actually works really well. And what I've noticed on my wheels on my Golf R is that it is built up over time and is providing a pretty good protective layer to where even after I've cleaned my wheels, normally brake buster and iron buster and all of that just destroy whatever paint sealant or anything that's on the tires or on the wheels. I can tell that it's still there and it's still working. So it's pretty cool. And you can do it on the paint too, but I still like, even if I had, didn't have anything on the car, spray it on, and then pressure wash it off, I would still probably afterwards go back over like this process and wipe it down just to more thoroughly get it into the paint. So yeah, it's a good product. If you're not using it, you need to, because it's freaking fantastic.
So the Keratosis says, I do rinseless on the wheels, pre-soak with rinseless via Marilex, foam brake buster, agitate it with wheel tools, sitting in a bucket of rinseless wash.
Yeah.
Rinse with a rinseless solution via Marilex. So he's rinsing his brake buster off with it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have done that, or that was what Sean did for a while. So when Sean was living in the apartment and didn't have access to a hose, that's the process that he was doing. He kind of asked me and Tommy about it, and that's what we said would probably work the best, is just foam. I don't know if he was rinsing first with McKee's or like with a rinseless solution and then doing brake buster. I guess he was. I think he was, yeah, to kind of help get the stuff off because he doesn't have a hose, and then brake buster, and then just from a bucket, the wash tools. Works fine. I still don't like using rinseless stuff on wheels. I think it's just weird. I'd rather use a pressure washer and everything, but I mean, if you don't have access to that, huh? Yeah, if I had some carbon ceramics, maybe I'll do that on my VW R32 when I get it. Do some Brembo carbon ceramics. No, but yeah, I mean, it works.
Matt Duffy says, any hot takes on Griot's ceramic tire dressing?
I don't know anything about Griot's ceramic tire dressing. It's probably okay. I think a lot of the Griot stuff is pretty good. It's not like my favorite products. I really like their interior cleaner. Is really, really good. But the tire dressings, I don't know. I don't think I've ever used one of their tire dressings. Matt's he must have taken all his towels over to the house, huh? So I'm gonna use my drying towel that I was just using for the door jambs. I'm gonna refill on some drying aid here.
All right, while you're doing that, Brad Hone says, how come the new Helen video got taken down? So I think it's because there was 2 videos published in one day. So we don't like to do that. So it's not that it was taken down. It's just you'll see it tomorrow, I believe, because Matt's at SEMA, so he's publishing videos on his own. And we've got Chris Toad over here pumping out videos as well. So, got to save some content.
We don't want to wear you guys out too much.
Next week. What's that? A lot of M2 content next week, and then the pan stuff for the week after.
Oh, and then he's saying that there's going to be a lot more M2 content next week, which will be good. Because the giveaway will be wrapping up and, give you guys a chance to...
I'll tell you what, the M2 is probably my favorite looking BMW. Can I get this door here? Does that work for you? Yeah, there we go.
Neil White says, Griot's is launching a battery sprayer for $129. Wondering how it compares to the one that OG sells. I'm assuming he's comparing to the Solo, not the foaming pump sprayer.
Probably, but if $129,
So it must be really good.
Let me look that up real quick.
yeah, that's probably going to be like if you take a Marilex or whatever and turn it into an electric foamer or a sprayer. It's probably the same kind of concept. I think what's the other Carbon Collective in over in Europe or the UK? They have a electric sprayer like that, but it's big. It's big like a pump sprayer.
I think there's foams as well, though. Also.
Oh, does it? Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, the Solo sprayers are freaking awesome. I really like those. I love Tornado Red paint. Just looks so good.
Okay, so it looks like it's just a regular sprayer. It's not a...
Why is it $129?
Oh, it looks like it does foam too. It's a little weird looking. It's got a big head. I'm assuming the battery is really good. Assuming the battery is really good. I don't know.
It's okay, Daniel. We'll forgive you. They're cleaner now. Get this.
Brad Hone says, "Love the battery-powered sprayers. Need about 6 more." Yeah, they're
Yeah.
super convenient.
I've got one, and I've been testing it with Brake Buster, so maybe you guys can chime in on this. If you guys have been using it with Brake Buster, because for me, at least the one that I have, I don't know if it's messed up or what. It does fine with other chemicals, but with Brake Buster, maybe because it's thick, it really clogs a lot, and I have to release the head to release the pressure, and then I'm able to, go back to spraying and doing the thing. But
So that's not just you. So when Lewis comes over and does his car, he'll pre-spray the front of his car with McKee's. And I think what happens sometimes is if you're spraying, there's no way the bottle builds pressure, and you have to it creates a vacuum. So
we've never had that issue with any of the other ones we've tested, though. Like, we never have to release the pressure, so that's weird. I don't know. Maybe there's a way that you can prevent that from happening. I'm not really sure. All right, I'm gonna get an interior towel because these door jambs, Daniel, are pretty dirty.
Mikey says, "Have you tried the Meguiar's MT103 inspection light co-branded with Scan Grip?" I think it's just like the Sun
Yeah.
Match, right?
It's just like the what?
Sun Match.
I think so. I don't know exactly which one he's talking about, but Scan Grip's done that before.
I don't think Scan Grip has ever made a specific new product for a co-branding.
No, is it a completely different product altogether?
Let me take a look for you.
I don't know anything about
I
it.
think it's just a
Yeah, it's usually like a rebrand, or maybe they're launching that product along with Meguiar's. They did that with their little, what are those? The diffuser caps. They launched that alongside with Geon. Yeah, Geon initially, and then now you can just you can buy them.
So it's got a different body, but it looks like a Sun Match.
Yeah, so that's a little different though.
Just a bit,
Interesting.
yeah.
But it's probably the same thing. It's just a different housing and stuff.
Yeah.
It's got a little kickstand thing. What was he saying about it though?
Have you tried it?
Oh no.
No, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's fine. It's probably the same as like, a Sun Match or a Mini Match, or like the Sun Match Mini.
If you're a baller, get the Milwaukee one.
Then Sean chimed in with his process. He does Rinseless, Brake Buster, Agitate, Rinseless for wheels. Works well unless you have really dirty wheels. I'd be wary of this process on gloss black wheels, though. Yeah, because you're not rinsing before you touch, I guess.
Right. That's what, that's always like the scariest thing for me, and why I rarely ever do a true rinseless wash is, all right, I trust the product, but it still freaks me out to think about doing a, not pre-rinsing and stuff like that while stuff is still on the car. I can't, I don't know. It's hard to do. Though, I mean, it worked well though several times I have done it.
Here we go. A username after your own heart. 23 do the do. How long is rinseless solution good for in your sprayer? A week, multiple weeks, etc.?
I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on the product. McKee's, I found, stays in the bottle a lot longer than, at least what it seems like, than like original O&R. I never tried it with the new O&R, the new formulation.
O&R was always weird because if it sat too long, it smelled.
Yeah.
It smelled like crayons almost.
Yeah. It was really like Play-Doh
Yeah,
or something. It was.
Yeah, it had a weird smell. You're
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's probably not good.
Yeah, so that's always been a question I've had, but I've found that keeping it in the bottle is just fine. I've converted my wife over in the kitchen and around the house and stuff. We've got a bottle of McKee's at rinseless, or at waterless dilution ratio. that we keep under the sink, and that's what we used for cleaning around the house and stuff. And it'll stay in there just fine for weeks. So now we refill it pretty often because we're using it all the time. But yeah.
All right, so we're like an hour 24. Said
Cool.
we're gonna do like an hour and a half. So
Yeah.
You want any rants? No. Kyle's a pretty calm
No,
guy.
I mean, for the most part. Hope I didn't mess up his sticker there. I was already like that, definitely. Daniel, your sticker was already jacked up there. Guys at Lake County Euros. I don't have anything to rant about. I have to think too hard. It's been really hard to find a Mark V R32 that's not just clapped out and a disaster, but there's been some good ones, so hopefully I'll have one of those. Maybe the next Rinseless, maybe we'll go through Kyle's wheel process next time. We can do it on my R32 when I get that. So that'll
So
be
if
cool.
somebody has a nice R32, email Kyle at obsessedgarage.com.
Like 100,000 miles, not $20,000. Yeah, hit me up. No rust.
All right, well, that's it for us, guys. Thanks for joining us for Kyle's rinseless method, which isn't really rinseless, but we hope you guys learned something.
It uses Rinseless.
It
I
uses
use a rinseless
yeah.
product, and that's about where it ends. I don't rinse a second time, though.
That's true.
I don't rinse a second time. It's rinseless.
And it's safe.
It's very safe. Car's very clean. Just look at it. It's good.
All right, and
Cool.
I think Matt will be back next week from SEMA, and I'm sure he'll tell you all about everything he's found if he hasn't talked about it all in the vlogs. So, see you guys next time.
See you guys. Thanks.